They work ministering the next generation of youth. She is a best-selling author. He is a soon-to-be best-selling author. And they ain't done yet. The power couple, Brandon and Crystal McLean, coming up next on the PowerPLAY show.
From the studios at Hull Bay Productions, this is the PowerPLAY.
Welcome to the PowerPLAY show. I'm Tonya McGrath. My guests today know what it means to be a power couple, and they're using their power to influence a stronger, God-fearing generation of young people. Brandon McLean is a proud supporter of youth and is passionate about the next generation. He is the leader and visionary of the Teach Me to Tie Incorporated movement. His vision for this movement is to help instill essential life lessons in the next generation, specifically young men. Brandon is also a youth pastor at what he calls the greatest church with the greatest youth ever, Chosen Remnant Ministries. Brandon wants to help young people learn, speak, and normalize the conversation about mental health. And he's here to discuss his new book, I Can Breathe Again, soon to be a bestseller, a mental health book about bullying, social pressure, and anxiety through community support. His wife, Crystal D. McLean, is also a proud supporter of her community and is involved in numerous volunteer and charitable organizations. With her best-selling book, Harmony and the Empty Piggy Bank, her goal is to educate youth on financial awareness and give them tools to make fiscally sound decisions. Together, they are a power couple serving God in every capacity while building a foundation of awareness and healing for the next generation. Brandon and Crystal, welcome to the PowerPLAY show.
Hey everyone, thank you for having us on. We definitely appreciate it.
I am so excited that you guys are both on. I've met you both separately on different occasions on the radio show, but now I get to talk to you guys together. And I just want to start off with, how did you guys meet? How did this powerness come together?
You want to go? You want me to go?
Well, we actually met when we was at Pembroke in college. And just to be honest with you, I just saw a short little girl with a nice shape.
With a booty.
With a big booty. And I was like, oh yes. But yes, we met in college and we became best friends instantaneously. She was the actual one who wrote me the note.
No, because you're not going to say it right. So I did. But first of all, I knew he was feeling me, feeling a little shorty or whatever. And so I talked to my roommate and I was like, I know he's feeling me, but he was very shy. He still is. He's an introvert. And so I'm a big extrovert. So we're totally opposite. And so I was like, well, if he don't ask me by this day, I'm gonna write him a note. And I did, back in the day, that was a little cute to write a little note. So I wrote him a note, dropped it on his desk and had my number in there. And he reached out that night. And then from that point forward, he would walk me to class regularly. And we just became best friends. We were best friends for many years before we even started dating.
Wow.
10 plus years.
Yeah.
10 plus years we were best friends. And then coming this Friday would be our 5-year anniversary as far as our marriage. So yes.
That's incredible. And and it's so important that you had that time to build that friendship because you guys really know each other, right? It wasn't built on something else. You really know each other. And one thing I know about you all is your love of God and your love of youth. So talk about how you both came involved in your ministry with young people at your church.
I'll start first. So I was a youth myself when I became a youth leader, and it really boiled down to I felt like there wasn't anyone advocating for the youth, and being in that position at the same time. As a youth, I just kind of went to my pastor and I was upset, like, the older people and the leaders and all this thing. And I had a whole agenda printed out and she was like, you know what? You're meant to lead youth. And I had already been prophesied about it years ago. And it just kind of, from that journey as being a youth leader, I just served. My biggest thing is about serving. And so, they were the ones that would call me all types of night. They're struggling, suicidal, depressed, things like that. And I just served. And then when we met, I was, still functioning as a youth leader. And
so a little bit about my background as well. My father is actually a pastor as well. So of course, growing up in the church, that's all I ever saw. And much like my wife's story, I've always advocated for the youth, especially the young men within our church growing up. I was the leader of the choir, the leader of the usher board and things of that nature. And then I finally met my wife, and my wife introduced me to the church, and it was a transition at first, because my church now, well, the church that, it was a totally different from culture from, the church that I grew up. But the first time that I came in there, my pastor actually said it. Yeah, you two are going to be the youth leaders of youth pastors over the. I'm looking like, hold on, what?
Yeah. And years later,
I'm just trying to come to God, do some worshiping.
Literally, that was him. Like,
right?
But years later, here we are. Yeah.
Wow. And why is children so important to you? And I know that, Brandon, you and I talked about it a little bit on the radio show last week, but talk about why working with young children is so important to you, particularly your work that you do with your organization.
So I know for me, most of my trauma happened during my youth, just being real. And so trying to overcome that in some cases alone was traumatic in itself. And so a lot of, that's why I think in this culture you see a lot of adult kids, they're grown in age, but they're young in mind and emotions and things like that, because there was a lot of unaddressed issues that they didn't get a chance to really deal with as they grew up. And I thank God, because he, really walked me through healing, and definitely a pastor that can see it. But, they're our legacy, and oftentimes, especially as working adults and, building this and building that, they are often overlooked. And with them being overlooked, that brings in a whole nother level of trauma. So I believe that if we truly impart and invest in our young people, they're our next generation. So we would know and feel confident in the future we're leaving behind.
And then just to piggyback off of that, they're the next generation. Of course, I want to make sure that I leave a trademark for myself that, someone, even if they don't even remember my name, they can say, yeah, I remember this happened because I was a part of this event for myself. And then also, again, I'm always voting for the underdog, for someone who struggles. And I don't want them to have to go through the same things that I went through. If there's a way out or there's an easier way, I want to show them that, hey, I'm the advocate for you. I have your back, and I can show you exactly the right ways to go. So just to make it easier for them so they can live a prosperous life. Thanks be to God.
It's such a special thing to work with kids, and it really takes a calling to do so. Well, what are you hearing from some of the young people today? I know that, and I talk a lot about this on the radio show, about the issue of social media and access and bullying. And we're going to get to your book in the second segment, Brandon, to talk about your specific book. But what are you hearing from young kids as some of the more concerning issues that they're dealing with right now?
Well, just like you said, there's a lot of social media pressures, bullying, and honestly speaking, there's a lot of depression, and a lot being because certain adults or certain parents, they honestly don't see it that way. They're thinking, oh, hey, you're just a child, you don't deal with depression, you don't deal with anxiety or what have you. But no, I'm hearing a lot, especially from our young boys, that they're dealing with, of course, depression, again, social media, bullying, always trying to compare to their friends and trying to be popular or what have you, but still trying to maintain their friendship type things as well. So those are some of the things that I'm hearing.
And I just think sometimes we overlook that we just went through an entire pandemic, and are still facing it.
Yes.
And I think that added on to the existing issues. I think, as adults, sometimes we look at, how we were impacted, like, the job changed, or, I couldn't go this place or that place or whatever. But you had children in a house caged for a year plus. And so you just think about that from a mental standpoint. They were snatched away from football fields. They were snatched away from orchestra classes. They were snatched away from cafeterias. They were snatched away in some cases from loving teachers that they got more love from than they got at home. So you think about taking them from an environment that they're familiar with, and then taking them to an environment that probably was not even the best. You know, we
drastically.
Like overnight somewhat. It kind of was like, okay, stuff happening, all right, and then now, boom, you home, and then, oh, it's only for a month. Oh, now it's for a year. You know, and so I think sometimes we don't really consider how that impacted, in addition to all the other pressures and social media and all the other things that they already were dealing with and already still dealing with.
Yeah, and you know, to your point, there are a lot of kids who are returning to school now this past September for the first time, as you mentioned, in almost over a year. And things are different. You know, going to school looks very different. Socializing looks very different. And I hear a lot of information about isolation and not really knowing how to navigate this, you know, post-COVID. We're not even post-COVID yet. We're still in it, but just how to navigate that. What are you hearing from the kids about just being back into a semi-normal environment and how they're managing that kind of thing?
I think one of the things I've heard is how unstable it is, you know, and instability in children anyway makes it difficult, but how unstable the environment is. You know, you got overworked teachers, so now that adds to their pressure towards you. And then you know, one of the things I've really heard the most is for those that were somewhat of a like talkers or extroverts, you know, you've started to see even drastic changes to their overall personality, because now they don't know how to reintegrate themselves back into society, right? Because they've been in their room, on a laptop, on their phones. And so now they're reintegrating back into society and they don't really know what that looks like. Right. So friendships are different, and people are different, and teachers is different, and school is different. And I think the pressure overall for that is taxing.
Yeah, and just like us as adults, you know, they hear things as far as COVID and things like that. So they understand that this is a real thing. So they hear the same numbers that we hear, you know, regretfully, of those who passed away due to it. So they're struggling with, okay, well, can I be close? Can I speak to my classmate? Or, you know, will I catch this? You know, making sure that am I standing the appropriate amount of feet away? Or how many times I have to wash my hands? So they're still struggling with that as well. So I'm still hearing that too.
Yeah, you know, I have a 3-year-old granddaughter, and we call her a COVID baby because she has only known COVID as far as she could actually concept things in life. So she's always distant from people. She's constantly sanitizing her hand. She's always asking where her mask is if we go outside. And you don't even think about what that means. Like this is all she has known in her tiny little life. And it's probably going to be that way. I mean, unfortunately, I don't know when COVID's gonna not exist anymore. Frankly, if everyone gets vaccinated, maybe. But so, you know, for you as parents, though, how did you manage this difficult time with COVID and kind of getting through that and managing your daughter's needs and wants and questions about everything that was changing in her world?
Well, for us, it was just all about being honest. We treat our daughter, she's a human. So it's not just, okay, you sit down, be quiet. No, we talk to our daughter about the things that are going on. We talk to her about the safety precautions. And for myself, specifically, my wife, she actually had to go, you know, during the whole pandemic, she had to go into business. So I was forced to work from home, which, you know, of course was a great thing because I could stay home with my daughter while she's doing the work from home, you know, from school as well. So us being together, you know, I'm up here just making sure that I'm available for her, even though it was a struggle for all of us, because again, we didn't know exactly what was going on. So, right. You know, I had to take off from work, you know, take a little break from work. Hey, you know, are you on internet working? Are you talking to your teacher, things of that nature. So it was a little struggle, but at first, but once we sat down, we had a discussion, we talked about it, we kind of understood exactly what needs to be done, and we got our own rhythm, we got our own flow. So that's how, you know, we actually kind of worked on it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, you know, in the beginning, we didn't handle it good. So
I don't think any of us did.
I'm just going to be honest. We just did not. I mean, because it was confusing. It was just like, I don't know. So when she had questions, I promise, I pretty much gave vague answers, but I didn't know, you know, and I just didn't know how to respond to certain things because there was such a, you know, gray area with everything. So I will be honest to say in the beginning, it was a struggle bus. It was a, you know, difficult transition. But like you said, you know, once we found our rhythm and we were like, you know, whether we go back to school or whether we stay home or whatever, we good either way. You know, we kind of got more confident and peace in what we were doing, but it was a struggle in the beginning.
But yeah, like we got everything set up once we hit that sweet spot. So all right, time to go. We know how to operate.
And I know, and your church must have closed, as all of the churches did, for some time as well. How are the kids doing now? How are they kind of reintegrating into church, into getting back with their friends? How are they doing?
Oh, they love it.
They do.
They, once everything hit and the church was shut down, we were still doing the live streaming, which was absolutely amazing. And then we started trickling back. It was like essential workers first coming in the building, which I really appreciate my pastor, my shepherd, for, you know, that vision and that foresight. But once, you know, the kids start coming in, we didn't start the youth services back up initially, but we kept getting haggled. Hey, when are we gonna go back to youth church? When are we gonna go back to youth church? I can't wait to go back. So once we our first time back in, we had a celebration. Yes. All of the youth were excited, and they still we take Sundays off just to go into the main sanctuary. They don't know what Sundays it is, but we just take, because we all want to be fed as well. Right. So we go in there, you know, they're looking at us like, when we going to youth church? So yes, they're very excited about, you know, being turned back into church.
And I think that I've seen, you know, a lot of them even use church, you know, youth church, essentially another way to integrate. You know, you think about the school and maybe they're not as accepted, or they're not as, you know, they don't feel as loved, or whatever the case is, but they definitely are bright-eyed there because they know that there's someone that loves them. Yeah. They feel the family feel and all those things. So it's just really good that I think more than anything, they feel that they have a support system.
Right.
Well, we need to take a quick break. More with the power couple, Brandon and Crystal McLean. You're listening to the PowerPLAY show.
It was difficult. It was real difficult.
Because you knew
that this was going to be it. That there was not going to be anything else out there to help me, because I had already tried everything. I cried almost every single day because I was very, very fearful about how I was going to look. I didn't know how I was going to look, how it was going to affect me physically, my outward appearance. Because I always took pride in how I looked, how I dressed, how I carried myself. So I didn't know how it was going to progress. So, you know, the fear set in. I didn't know how people were going to accept me, if they was going to shy away from me. The fear of not being included in events, or people not wanting me to be in their pictures. Those things bothered me a lot. When I first started going to Raleigh North, I was pretty broken. But the love from that church is just extraordinary. The fellowship of the members in the church is extraordinary. The pastors there are just awesome. They're very encouraging. They have encouraged me from day one with my diagnosis. There are no words that I can express how appreciative of my church family and the pastors. God was always there. God was always there. You know, I prayed a lot. God was always there. I never thought that he had left me. Of course, you know, I questioned God, why me? Why is this happening to me? Why did you allow this? You know, I know God is sovereign. But I asked, why is this happening to me? Why did you choose me? So the answer that I got was, well, why not you?
Welcome back to the PowerPLAY show with my power couple, Brandon and Crystal McLean. Now, you are both authors. First, Crystal, because your book came out first, tell our audience about the importance of your book, Harmony and the Empty Piggy Bank.
Well, I think it is very important because, you know, financial literacy is not one of those topics that are taught in school. It is also one of those taboo topics that are, is not really addressed, especially in the Black community, as much as I would like it to be. And I think that's all kind of geared towards, you know, history, trauma, things like that. And so I think it's necessary because this topic really kind of sets them up and establishes them for their future. And so if they don't know how to manage their money, if they don't know how to save, if they don't know the benefits of delayed gratification, then they grow up essentially without this plan. And then what happens? There's a cycle of poverty. There's a cycle of debt. And, you know, that's one of the things I really wanted to eradicate. And although I know I can't completely eradicate it, if there's a resource that I can give that would essentially help the community, then here it is. And so Harmony and the Empty Piggy Bank talks about entrepreneurship, investing, savings, you know, delayed gratification, all those things that they're needing for their future.
And it is based on your daughter. So we'll give that like a little hint, but we won't tell the whole story. Has financial literacy always been important to you?
I will say no. I will say, you know, when I got to college, prior to college, it was kind of like starting to become, because I was the first one in my family to go to school. And so I didn't have a baseline of what that looks like. So I didn't know financially about financial aid or anything. But it really wasn't until I got out of college that I saw, you know, my lack of knowledge as it pertains. Now, on the other side of that, financial, I got my degree in banking and finance, right? So it's kind of like, well, how do you not know about financial literacy? Because, well, that teaches more on economics and accounting and all these things, but it really didn't go over personal finance. And so for me, I didn't have the skills that I had to know, how do I apply this to me? How do I make this plain to me? And so when I got out of college, I had all this debt and all these different things. And I'm like, why are they not teaching this in school? Like, why is it not taught? And so on the journey of trying to teach my daughter, I went to Barnes & Noble. There's no book. The Lord dropped it on my heart. You write it. And I did. And I was able to use that book to also teach her, but then more families across the world. So I'm just grateful for that opportunity to shed light on a topic that I felt like I lacked in the most area.
And when I first met you, you also talked about how you and Brandon have come together and both of you have become financially healthy, and just communication, which is like the number one thing when you're talking about finances. So Brandon, how was that kind of transition in your life, just being able to have these really open conversations about finances and money in the marriage?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. At first, it wasn't easy. I'm just going to be because I started off in the financial. I worked at a bank as well before, so I was so used to handling all the funds, because I was on my own. I handled all my money, paid all the bills, this, that, and the third. So now coming into marriage, of course, it's a partnership, and being that she, of course, she lives in the bank basically, so she sees the computer screens and all of the accounts and things. So it was kind of hard. It was a hard transition for me initially to basically, I guess, give over the quote unquote power. Yeah. My wife, because that's how I saw it at first. I was like, hold on now, I'm the man, I'm supposed to be handling this. But once we had our conversation and we had that conversation, and it was after the conversation that it's, hey, look, it's a partnership thing. It's not, I'm trying to tell you what to do. No, it's just, we have a goal. This is where we're trying to go. This is the best route to go about it. And once I saw that, it's like, oh, okay. And then honestly, it just made me feel better. Hey, that's off my plate. Indeed. But yes, it works. Again, it's the system that we have. I mean, she lets me know, hey, this is what's coming out every Friday. This is what's coming out. This is how much we made. Boom, boom, boom. And we just go forth from there. And if I have any questions on it, she doesn't feel any type of way of me saying, hey, babe, I don't quite understand this, what happened here or what have you. She tells me, it brings out the chart. All right, here we go. So. And
one of the things I learned through that was because I know finances in general is a hard topic in marriages mostly. I mean, if you look at statistics, most divorces are due to finance. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so, I didn't want that to be our struggle, and so once we customized the plan and created a plan, I didn't want to be one of my customers. I've seen customers that like husband, wife passed away, God forbid, and husband had no clue, or vice versa. Wife has no clue on where the accounts are, how much money is there, what to do, where's the life insurance. I mean, it's a mess. And so thank God for the Holy Spirit on every Friday, because I don't want to talk about it throughout the week. I don't want to talk about it every day. Like, we have one set day, so we both have that expectation. All right, I'm going to send you a recap. This is what is going on. This is how much and it just kind of puts that into that one little window of time where there's no more anxiety, there's no more issues, there's no more, all of that, instead of fussing about money, because that's a thing. We make sure we carve it into one window where we can have that honest conversation and then shut it off.
Full transparency. And fellas, just do what I do. Send her the net and the gross. She'll take care of the rest. That's all.
Well, I mean, I think that's just such a great a technique to go about it. What lessons in your life are you trying to not pass on to your daughter? Because we talk a lot about generational wealth and what that means and what it doesn't mean, because we don't really talk about it, particularly in communities of color, because frankly, there isn't a lot of wealth, right? So we don't have those conversations. What kind of conversations are you now having with your daughter to help her think about finances and financial health in a different light?
Well, one of the biggest things, and I bring up delayed gratification a lot, only because oftentimes if you don't really deal with that principle up front, then you find yourself in debt. And one of the things we don't want to pass down is debt. One of the things I am very adamant on, because if you look at statistically across our community, like you said, to your point, Tonya, there is not generational wealth, there's generational debt passed on, so you don't have life insurance. Guess what? The whole family got to come together and pay your debt to, the funeral home, things like that. And that is one thing that we are adamant on teaching her, the principles of, okay, you don't have it now. How can you get it? How can we prepare for this? Okay, you desire this iPhone. Okay, how can we financially prepare for this? What are some things you can do? So her mind always goes to, okay, it's not there, so I'm not gonna go out and swipe it to make it. I'm gonna figure out a plan to get those funds to be able to prepare for the goal I desire. So one of the biggest things, and I just think from my personal experience, I'm teaching her myself, and I know Babe have some other different lessons, is no generational debt. Like, don't get in debt, and then also saving. And she's so, now she'd be quick to spend our money, but she is very cautious with her money. I remember recently she got money for her birthday, and she was adamant on putting it in her savings account. Mom, can you put this in my savings account? Now, our money she's different on, but her money, she's very cautious, in particular on making sure she's saving, which is one of the principles we were very adamant on teaching as well.
So now I want to turn to you, Brandon, because you have a book that just came out, which I'm excited about. And it's so key right now because as we're seeing across the country, we're seeing incidents of bullying rising in our schools. And I want to talk about your book, I Can Breathe Again, a mental health book about bullying, social pressure, and anxiety through community support. What was your reasoning for wanting to write this book, and why was this important to you?
Well, the reasoning was kind of alluded to what my wife was saying, is that, of course, the issue or the topic about mental health and anxiety, especially in the African American community, is sort of a taboo subject, and it's through my own personal experience. So growing up as a young teenager, I felt these feelings that, of course, in the book, BJ, which is the main character, was feeling, but he really didn't understand exactly what was going on. And I felt those things, but I didn't know exactly what it was. So, of course, it turned into, it was anxiety. And I suffer from anxiety attacks and, of course, panic attacks. And I suffered from bullying growing up. But from a teenager and a young man's perspective, it was hard for us to express exactly what we're feeling, because just growing up, we're always told, hey, man up, men don't cry, boys don't cry.
Right.
And we have to be the hard ones, don't show any emotions. If you show emotions, you're weak. So those are the things that I heard. And again, just going through Barnes and Noble, we're just looking for books. I didn't see any type of books of, one, characters that look like myself as a younger teenager, and then two, thinking of or coming from the perspective of anxiety and mental health from the African American community side. So that was like the main reason why I wrote it, and I wanted my story to be of, again, assistance to someone else who are struggling or is struggling with depression and mental health and bullying, just so that they can know that you're not alone. You have other people, you have advocates out there for you who you can talk to, and it gives additional resources about mental health and things of that nature.
And I think it's so strong that you used a male character, because there is such a stigma when it comes to therapy and talking about not feeling well. Like we put so much emphasis, I think, on our boys to be physically fit and to be strong and to be the fastest and be the best sports player and this type of thing, but we don't put as much into their mental health and what that means. And so I love the fact that you based it around BJ. We're not going to say it's Brandon's name. We're not going to tell anybody that, but I love that. And so I wonder are you going to use this in your youth ministry with the people at church? And I think I told you last week, I'm actually going to buy both of your books and donate them to my church, because we have some youth in our church that could be so wonderfully blessed by these important stories. But how would you incorporate that into the work that you're doing at the church?
So for myself, honestly, just since the book dropped, I've gotten stories from some of the youth within the church about how it was a great book and how they're going through some of the things that BJ and myself went through. And I let them know, I told them my personal testimony. Say, hey, BJ is your own. They call me YPB because I don't like titles. So they call me YPB. They call my wife YPC. So I was like, hey, YPB went through the same thing, that's going through the same thing that you're going through, and we're going through different things as far as like help wise, and then also just through of course myself to teach me the tie incorporated movement. I already have ideas that I'm going to implement that's going to surround. It's going to have Teach Me to Tie incorporated within it, but it's going to be surrounded of the I Can Breathe Again book. So of course there's going to be a lot of more details coming with that as well. But yeah, we're going to be bringing that in.
And I think that was something, just during the launch, watching all the men have very raw and open conversations. And a lot of people during the launch even mentioned, this is needed to see young African-American men actually talking about their feelings and actually talking about their experiences, because for the generation, following, they get to see that, okay, it's okay to mention how I feel. It's okay to talk about I'm struggling mentally and things like that. So I'm excited to see the Teach Me to Tie event that's going to be centered around mental health, because they'll get to see someone looking like them that's able to be vulnerable and have that space for them to be vulnerable.
Right, because on TV, it's normalized. You see black men and as thugs, as the hard gangsters or whatever. But the idea of the launch and the idea that's coming up for the Teach Me to Tie, we want to normalize the conversation of, hey, yes, you're a man, yes, you're a young boy, yes, you have feelings, and it is perfectly okay, and you're not weak.
That's right.
You're not.
Right. You're not weak. Absolutely. We need to take another quick break. More with authors Brandon and Crystal McLean. You're listening to the PowerPLAY Show.
Hi, I'm Katrina Christian, one of 5 women featured in the upcoming documentary film, More Than Our Skin, a film about living with vitiligo. I'm excited to share the kickoff of our raffle event now through November 30th. We have 4 giveaways to offer, with all proceeds going to the production of this important film. For more information on the contest and the prizes, visit morethanourskin.org/raffle. Great prizes for a great cause. You don't want to miss this.
Welcome back to the PowerPLAY Show. My guest authors Brandon and Crystal McLean. What's next for the McLean household? Because you guys just seem to be doing it all and doing it very well, I must add.
Well, we got a couple things. My next book will be launched in the month of December, next month, actually. Yay! I'm excited about that one. That is No Sonny, because he got it wrong on the radio. It's called No Sonny, Save That Money, and it is a rhyming book that is a young little boy. Granny is about to give him some money, and Sonny thinks of all these amazing things that he can do with the money. And Granny's whole testament throughout the book is no, Sonny, save that money. So that book I'm really excited about. And then, Teach Me to Tie is about to be a big deal.
So for myself, again, we have the Teach Me to Tie event that's going to be coming up. More details are coming soon regarding that. We're still pushing the I Can Breathe Again, book itself.
Definitely.
And I'm already 3 chapters down, and I Can Breathe Again too.
So awesome.
Coming with, I plan on having just different, again, just my experience being out there, pushed to the world, and so everybody can see and be assisted by us. So yeah, I Can Breathe Again too is coming, and again, just still being great
serving as youth pastors. That's a full-time job.
Full-time thing. We love them. Just everybody that we come in contact with, that's the main thing.
Yeah, and I think for us personally, making sure we intentionally love each other and spend time with each other, and
absolutely,
as a family, because sometimes we are really, between working full time, the business side, because there's a full business side to the publishing aspect, and then ministry. We could get so bogged down that it's like, hey, good night. And so, really making sure we're very intentional relationally as a family and also as a couple.
The PowerPLAY Show ends with asking our guests 3 questions. And I'm going to start with you, Brandon. First, when it comes to your faith in your work, how do you incorporate God's word into your work?
Every day. That's the first thing I do when I wake up. I give a prayer. I pray to God, and I try to read His word. When I take my daughter to school, I kind of alluded to when I was on the live. That's like the first thing, because I want to start my day off right. So if I start my day off right by reading His word, getting His word, and listening to Him and praying to Him, then I know everything else will fall into place. So and that includes my work. Again, I would be nothing without God, and this book, of course, would be nothing without God, and my family. Everything would be nothing without God. So, you know, having to give him the first fruit of my labor, that's bar none the first thing I have to do.
And Crystal, how do your faith and work connect?
I mean, I think it's necessary for it to connect because, you know, there's not one without the other. My faith is what allows me to serve, and to serve with a pure heart, to serve with joy, because I recognize that I work unto God and not man. And so, you know, everything that I do, it is worship. It is a way to serve him. You know, how I love people, how I give, whatever I do, it is to serve him. And so, you know, reading my word is really giving me, that's the tool book. So it's giving me the tools that I need to make sure I'm able to do it in the right heart, in the right way. So, yeah.
My second question is for Brandon. What's the most important thing you can let parents know about what to do if their child is being bullied?
Well, first, I would just recommend just sitting there and listening. Listening, when I say listening, hearing what your child has to say and not trying to answer or automatically come with a response. No, hearing exactly what's going on. Don't judge the child, or don't try to place the blame on your child. Get all the story, get all of the sides of the story, and then also show your child that you're there for them. And you don't have to necessarily, you know how in our community somebody say, you know, they're bullying, somebody bullied my child. Oh, I'm going to the school. No, you don't have to act like that. No, but
taking my earrings off. Right. Put on the Vaseline.
Yeah, exactly. But no, you can go up there and still show that support without having to embarrass your child, because that would just embarrass them even further, and then that'll give anybody else any further ammo, what have you. So just again, listening and just being present every day, constantly. Even if your child doesn't come to you, ask them, hey, how's school going? Anybody bothering you, this, that, and the third? And then being present by asking the teacher, making sure that you're there for all the meetings or what have you, but just being present for your child.
And Crystal, the final question is to you. What's the most important thing you can let parents know about preparing their children to be fiscally healthy?
Start now. Like, I've heard, you know, throughout this whole journey, I've heard some parents say, you know, I don't want to really teach my kids about money because I feel like that's an adult topic, and I feel like I don't want to take away their childhood. And I just kind of think that is, you know, that's a perspective, but it is not the healthiest perspective, I would say, because starting them now can look like, you know, when you're at the grocery store comparing prices, you know, when they're at the register, letting them, you know, put the debit card in and asking them to check the receipt to make sure. I mean, it's small things, but what I would say is start now. Another thing I would say is, I know a lot of parents have struggled with, how do I teach my kids about money if I'm still learning, or I don't know yet? Connect. You have a local bank. There's so many resources online. Buy the book. No, I'm just kidding. But you know, there's so many different resources, especially like your financial institution, that it has things that will, you know, jumpstart a kid's financial literacy. You know, so don't feel like you're in it alone. Search the community. I mean, there's clubs that have, you know, financial literacy within their programs. So don't feel like you have to fight this journey alone. But then you get educated. You know, you as a parent, you get educated enough where you can confidently have those conversations with your child, your children, that you can then tell them the things that you wish you had known, so that they won't make the same mistakes and failures that you did.
Brandon and Crystal McLean, thank you so much for all the work you do and for creating such a safe space for children to learn and grow in their walk with God. Tell folks how they can find and buy your books.
Awesome. For mine, you can definitely buy that anywhere books are sold: Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart online, Books A Million. But you can exclusively go to my website at www.authorcrystalmclean.com, and there you can get the autographed version, or it can also lead you to those other avenues.
And same here, all the various venues: Walmart, Target, Books A Million, like my wife said, Barnes & Noble. And you can also get the #1 bestseller, because it is #1 bestseller.
It is a bestseller.
It is the bestseller.
Yes.
I can get it again. You can get it exclusively on my website, www.authorbrandonmclean. That's MCLEAN.com. I had to spell it out. Yes. And it's not McLean, it's McLean. I just want to let everybody know. Yes. www.authorbrandonmclean.com.
And we're going to have all those links on the PowerPlayShow.com website. Both of you, I pray for nothing but continued success with you, continued love, continued union, air of health and protection over you and your family and all that you're doing. God bless you. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for the
Appreciate you.
opportunity.
Thank you.
Remember, you can listen to past episodes of the PowerPLAY show wherever you subscribe to podcasts, including iHeartRadio, Pandora Podcasts, and now Amazon Music. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel. Simply search the Hull Bay Productions Media channel. And be sure to subscribe so you always know when we're live. And we air each Saturday at 5 p.m. on BroncoiRadio.com. So be sure to tune into the PowerPLAY show each Thursday for a new episode wherever you subscribe to podcasts, or on our YouTube channel at Hull Bay Productions Media channel, or Saturdays at 5 p.m. on BroncoiRadio.com, or you can just simply visit thepowerplayshow.com. As you know, Hull Bay Productions, the parent company of the PowerPLAY show, is in development of its second documentary, More Than Our Skin. We are so excited about this project. For more information, please visit morethanourskin.org and learn more about the film, the incredible stories we will share of these 5 amazing women, and leave a donation. $5 or whatever you have, every donation makes a difference. And don't forget to buy your raffle tickets. We have an incredible raffle going on right now with some amazing prizes, and it's only now until November 30th. So be sure to log on to morethanourskin.org/raffle and get your tickets today. 1 for $5, 3 for $10, or 5 for $20. You don't want to miss this. And good luck. Until next time, I'm your host, Tonya McGrath. Be well.